yearlings, on the other hand, would have lifted up in a flock and screamed bloody murder. They loathed being disturbed and despised foxes to the marrow of their light bones. On Sister's left, a lone figure remained poised at the fence line. If Shaker moved forward, then the whipper-in, Betty Franklin, would take the old tiger trap jump and keep well to the left. Betty, a wise hunter, knew not to press on too far ahead. The splinter of the pack which had broken now veered to the right, and the second whipper-in, Sybil Hawks, was already in pursuit well away across the hayfield. Whether Sybil could turn the three couple of hounds troubled Sister. A pack should stay together. Easier said than done. Sister blamed herself for this incident. It takes years and years, decades really, to build a level pack of hounds. She had included too many first-year entry, the hound equivalent of a first grader, in today's hunt. First-year entry sat in the kennels for Christmas Hunt, which had been last Saturday. Christmas Hunt, the third of the high holy days of hunting, overflows with people and excitement. Both she and her huntsman, whom Sister adored, felt the Christmas Hunt would have been too much for the youngsters. Today, she should have taken only one couple, not the four included in this pack. Shaker had mentioned this to her, but she'd waved him off, saying that the field wouldn't be that large today, as many riders would still be recuperating from the rigors of Christmas. There had been over 100 people for Christmas Hunt, but she had half that today, still a good number of folks. The hounds loved hunting in the snow. For the young entry, this was their first big snow, and they just couldn't contain themselves. She sat on Ricky Roo, who sensed her irritation. Sister felt a perfect ass. She'd hunted all her life, and at 72, it was a full life. How could she now be so damn stupid? Luckily, most people behind her knew little about the art of fox hunting, and it was an art, not a science. They loved the pageantry, the danger, the running and jumping, its music. A few even loved the hounds themselves. Out of that field of 54 people, perhaps 8 or 9 really understood fox hunting. And that was fine by Sister, as long as people respected nature, protected the environment, and paid homage to the fox, a genius wrapped in fur. She was happy. Fox hunting was like baseball. A person needn't know the difference between a sinker and a slider when it crossed home plate in order to enjoy the game. So long as people knew the basics and behaved themselves on horseback, she was pleased. She knew better than to expect anyone to behave when off a horse. She observed Shaker. Every sense that man possessed was working overtime, as were hers. She listened intently and could hear, a third of a mile off, the three couple of hounds speaking for all they were worth. Perhaps they'd hit a fresh line of scent. In this snow, the scent would have to be fresh, just laid from the fox's paws. The rest of the pack watched Shaker. If scent were burning, surely Cora or Diana, Dasher or Ardent would have told them. But then the youngsters had broken off back in the woods. Had the pack missed the line? With an anchor hound like the 4-year-old Diana, now in her 3rd season, this was unlikely. Young though she was, this particular hound was following in the paw prints of one of the greatest anchor hounds Sister had ever known, Archie, gone to his reward and remembered with love every single day. Odd how talent appears in certain hounds, horses, and humans. Diana definitely had it. She now faced the sound of the splinter group, stern level, head lifted, nose in the air. Something was up. Behind Sister, Dr. Walter Lundgren gratefully caught his breath. The run up to this point had been longer than he realized, and he needed a break. Wealthy Crawford Howard passed his flask around. It was accepted with broad smiles from friend and foe alike. Crawford subscribed to the policy that a man should keep his friends close, and his enemies closer still. His wife, Marty, an attractive and intelligent woman, also passed around her flask. Crawford's potion was a mixture of blended Scotch, Cointreau, and a dash of bitters with a few drops of fresh lemon juice. Liberally consumed, it hit like a sledgehammer. Teddy and Edward Bancroft, impeccably turned out, and true fox hunters, both in their 7th decade, listened keenly. Their daughter, Sybil, in her mid-40s, was the second whipper-in. She had her work cut out for her. They knew she was a bold rider, so they had no worries there. But Sybil, in her 2nd year as an honorary whipper-in, as opposed to a professional, fretted over every mistake. Sybil's parents and 2 sons would buoy her up after each hunt, since she was terribly hard on herself. Betty Franklin loved whipping in, but she knew there were moments when great God Almighty couldn't control a hound with a notion. She was considerably more relaxed about her duties than Sybil. Also passing around hand-blown glass flasks, silver caps engraved with their initials, were Henry Xavier, called Xavier or X, Clay Berry, and Ronnie Haslip, men in their middle 40s. These high-spirited fellows had been childhood friends of Ray Arnold, Jr., sister's son, born in 1960, had been killed in 1974 in a harvesting accident. The boys had been close, the 4 musketeers. Sister watched her son's best friends grow up, graduate from college, 2 married, all succeeded in business. They were very dear to her. After about 5 minutes, Shaker tapped his hat with his horn, leaned down, and spoke encouragingly to Cora, his strike hound. She rose up on her hind legs to get closer to this man she worshipped. Then he said, "Come along," and his pack obediently followed as he rode out of the forest, taking the second tiger trap jump, as Betty Franklin took the first. If the pack and the huntsman are a clock, the strike hound being at 12, Betty stayed at 10 o'clock, Sybil at 2, the huntsman at 6. Sister, 30 yards behind Shaker, sailed over the tiger trap. Most of the other riders easily followed, but a few horses balked at the sight of the upright logs, leaning together just like a trap. The snow didn't help the nervous. Resting along the crevices, it created an obstacle that appeared new and different. As riders passed the sugar maple, Cora began waving her stern. The other hounds became interested. Dragon, a hot-headed but talented 3rd-year hound, and the brother to Diana, bellowed, "It's her! It's her!" The thick odor of a vixen lifted off the snow. Cora, older and steady, even though she was the strike hound, paused a moment. "Yes, it is a vixen, but something's not quite right." Diana, her older brother Dasha, Asa, and Arden also paused. At 9, the oldest hound in the pack, Delia, mother of the D-litters, usually brought up the rear. While her speed had diminished, her knowledge was invaluable. Delia, too, put her nose to the snow. The other hounds looked at her, even her brash son, Dragon. "It's a vixen, all right, but it's extremely peculiar," Delia advised. "Well, maybe she ate something strange," Dragon impatiently spoke. "Our job is to chase foxes, and it doesn't matter if they're peculiar or not. I say we give this field another run for their money." Cora lifted her head again to look at Shaker. "Well, it is a vixen, and whatever is wrong with the line, I guess we'll find out." With the hounds opening, their vibrant voices filled the air with a music as lush to the ear of a fox hunter as the Brandenburg concertos are to a musician. No matter how many times she heard her pack in full cry, it always made the hair stand up on the back of Sister's neck. They glided across the hayfield, soared over the stone jumps on the other side, plunged into the woods as they headed for a deep creek that fed the apple orchards for which Orchard Hill was known. The cardinal once again left off the millet and flew back up into the oak tree. "Bother," he grumbled to his mate. "Maybe they'll turn up more seed," his shrewd helpmate answered. The hounds, running close together, passed under the oak, followed by Shaker, then Sister, in the field. They ran flat out for 20 minutes, everyone sweating despite the cold. The baying of the pack now joined the baying of the splinter group. It sounded queer. Shaker squeezed Showboat. A true huntsman's horse, Showboat would die before he'd join the rest of the field. He would be first, and that was that. "What in the goddamned hell?" Shaker shouted. He put his horn to his lips, blowing 3 long blasts.